The rain hit Camille's face like cold needles as she stood frozen on the sidewalk, watching her boss Victor Bradford stumble out of the downtown bar. His expensive suit jacket hung off one shoulder, his white dress shirt was half untucked, and his normally perfect hair stuck to his forehead in wet clumps. But what made her stomach drop was the two men following him out, their eyes fixed on his Rolex watch and the wallet she could see bulging from his back pocket. For 6 months, Victor Bradford had made her life miserable. Every report had to be redone. Every coffee was wrong. Every task came with criticism. He never said good morning. He never asked about her daughter. He treated her like a machine that existed only to serve him. And now here he was, drunk and vulnerable, about to get robbed or worse in a part of town where police response took forever. Camille's first instinct was to keep walking. Let him figure it out. He had money, security, people whose job it was to handle his problems. She was just his assistant, the woman he barely acknowledged as human. Her daughter Imani was waiting at the neighbor's apartment. Her bus would arrive in 10 minutes. She could be home in 30 minutes, tucking her baby into bed, forgetting she ever saw this. But as Victor stumbled and nearly fell, catching himself against a parking meter, and as those two men moved closer, something in Camille's chest pulled tight. She thought about her own father, who had died when she was young. She thought about how she'd want someone to help him if he was in trouble. She thought about the kind of person she wanted Imani to grow up to be. "Mr. Bradford," she called out, walking quickly toward him. Her blue work dress was already soaked, her sensible flats splashing through puddles. "Mr. Bradford, it's Camille. From the office." Victor's eyes struggled to focus on her. "Camille? What are you? Why are you?" His words slurred together. The two men stopped, watching this new development. Camille positioned herself between them and Victor, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. "I'm taking him home. His wife is expecting him." She lied smoothly, knowing Victor wasn't married. The lie was enough. The men exchanged glances and walked away, probably deciding the hassle wasn't worth it. "I don't have a wife," Victor mumbled, leaning heavily on her shoulder. "I know," Camille said quietly. "But they don't. Can you walk? Where do you live?" Victor tried to stand straighter and nearly toppled sideways. Camille caught him, struggling under his weight. He was tall, easily 6'2" and solid. She was 5'6" and weighed maybe 140 pounds on a good day. Victor squinted at nothing. "Can't remember. Too many streets. Too many numbers. Perfect. Just perfect." Camille looked around the rainy street. Her bus stop was 2 blocks away. Her apartment was 20 minutes by bus, maybe 15 by taxi if she spent money she didn't have. Victor's penthouse was probably on the other side of the city in some building she'd need a code to enter. "Okay," she said, making a decision she knew she'd regret. "Okay, you're coming with me." Getting Victor to her apartment was like trying to move a drunk elephant. He kept apologizing, kept trying to walk on his own, kept nearly falling. By the time they reached her building, a modest 4-story walk-up in a neighborhood that was safe but far from fancy, both of them were soaked to the bone. "3rd floor," Camille panted, half dragging Victor up the stairs. "Almost there. Just keep moving." Her neighbor Mrs. Chen poked her head out when she heard them on the stairs. Her eyes went wide at the sight of Camille struggling with a very drunk, very expensive-looking white man. "It's okay, Mrs. Chen," Camille said quickly. "Work emergency. Is Imani asleep? Out like a light, honey? You need help?" No. Thank you for watching her. I'll get her in the morning if that's okay?" Mrs. Chen nodded, but her expression said she had questions. Camille would deal with that later. Inside her small apartment, Camille guided Victor to the couch. It was old, covered with a throw blanket to hide the worn spots, but it was clean and soft. Victor collapsed onto it with a groan. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. "So sorry. Everything is... I messed up everything." Camille stared at him. In 6 months of working together, he'd never apologized for anything. Never showed weakness. Never been anything but cold and demanding. Now here he was, a mess of expensive cologne and regret, lying on her second-hand couch. She brought him water and a trash can, placed both within reach. Then she went to her room, changed into dry clothes, a comfortable red sweater and jeans, and made a bed for herself in Imani's room. Her daughter slept in the twin bed, her little chest rising and falling peacefully, her favorite stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin. Camille lay on the floor on a pile of blankets and stared at the ceiling. What had she just done? Brought her drunk boss to her home. The man who criticized everything she did. The man who would probably fire her for seeing him like this. The man who now knew where she lived, knew about her modest life, knew she took the bus and lived in a building where the hallway smelled like someone's cooking and the walls were thin. She didn't sleep. She listened for sounds from the living room, ready to intervene if he got sick or tried to leave and hurt himself. Rain drummed against the window. Somewhere in the building, a baby cried. Normal life continued around this very strange night. When morning light finally crept through the curtains, Camille heard movement in the living room. She held her breath. Have you ever helped someone who made your life difficult? Sometimes the hardest people need kindness the most. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support means everything. The first thing Victor became aware of was the pounding in his head. The second was that he had no idea where he was. The third was the smell of coffee and something sweet like pancakes or waffles. He opened his eyes slowly, wincing at the morning light. He was on a couch, covered with a soft blanket that smelled like lavender detergent. The living room was small but neat. A bookshelf held a mix of novels and children's books. Pictures on the wall showed a beautiful little girl at various ages, always smiling. A small television sat on a simple stand. Everything was clean, organized, loved. This wasn't his penthouse. This wasn't any place he'd ever been. Victor sat up slowly, his head screaming in protest. He was still in his dress pants and shirt from yesterday, though someone had removed his shoes and placed them neatly by the door. His jacket hung on a hook, his tie draped over it. The trash can next to the couch was empty but positioned like someone expected it to be needed. Memory came back in pieces. The bar. Too much whiskey. The anniversary of his brother's death, the date he drank to forget every year. Walking out into the rain. Men following him. Camille. Camille Harris, his assistant. The woman he'd been terrible to for months. The woman he'd criticized and demanded perfection from, never once considering she might have a life outside the office. She had saved him. Brought him somewhere safe. Stayed up to make sure he was okay if the carefully positioned trash can was any indication. Victor stood carefully, running a hand through his hair. He needed to find her, to thank her, to apologize for the disruption. But more than that, he needed to understand why she'd helped him. He found her in the kitchen, a tiny space with barely enough room for two people. She wore a red sweater that brought out the warmth in her brown skin, and jeans that were casual in a way he'd never seen her dress. Her hair, usually pulled back in a professional bun, fell in natural curls around her shoulders. She was beautiful in a way his bourbon-soaked brain hadn't registered last night. "Good morning," he said quietly. Camille turned and he saw the nervousness in her eyes. "Mr. Bradford. You're awake. I made coffee. And there's aspirin on the counter." "Thank you." Victor took the aspirin gratefully, washing it down with water. "Camille, I don't know what to say. Thank you for last night. I was in bad shape." "You were," she agreed, not sugarcoating it. "Those men were going to rob you. Maybe worse. You saved me." Victor said it simply, letting the weight of it settle between them. "I did what anyone would do." "No." Victor shook his head. "No, most people would have kept walking. Especially someone I've treated as poorly as I've treated you. I owe you an apology for that too. For months I've been awful." Camille studied him, trying to figure out if this was real. "You have," she said honestly. "But last night isn't about that. You needed help. I helped. That's all." Before Victor could respond, a small voice called from down the hallway. "Mommy? Is breakfast ready?" Victor watched as a little girl padded into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She wore pink pajamas with cartoon characters on them and her hair was braided in neat rows. She stopped short when she saw Victor, her eyes going wide. "Baby, this is Mr. Bradford from Mommy's work," Camille said, scooping her daughter up. "He had some trouble last night and needed a safe place to sleep. Mr. Bradford, this is my daughter, Imani." "Hello, Imani," Victor said gently. He'd never been around children much, but something about this little girl's curious eyes made him smile. "It's nice to meet you. Did you sleep on our couch?" Imani asked with the blunt honesty of a 6-year-old. "I did. Your mom was very kind to me." "Mommy is the kindest person in the whole world," Imani declared. "She helps everybody." Victor looked at Camille and saw her blush. "She does, doesn't she?" Camille set Imani down. "Go get dressed, baby. We need to pick you up from Mrs. Chen's and get you ready for school." After Imani scampered off, Victor turned to Camille. "Let me take you both to breakfast. Please. It's the least I can do." "Mr. Bradford, you don't need to." "Victor," he interrupted. "Please call me Victor. And I do need to. You saved me last night in more ways than one. Let me say thank you properly." Camille hesitated. This was her boss. This was crossing lines. But when she looked at him, she didn't see the cold, demanding man from the office. She saw someone genuine, someone grateful, someone changed by whatever had happened last night. Okay, she said finally. But somewhere casual. Imani doesn't do fancy restaurants. Victor smiled, a real smile that transformed his whole face. Casual works for me. An hour later, they sat in a bright diner with red vinyl booths and a jukebox in the corner. Imani had already made friends with the waitress and was coloring on the paper menu. Camille sipped her coffee, still not quite believing this was happening. Tell me about you, Victor said. I've worked with you for 6 months and I know nothing about your life. There's not much to tell, Camille started. There's everything to tell, Victor countered. You have a daughter. You live in that neighborhood. You take the bus to work. You saved your boss from his own mistakes. Start anywhere. So Camille talked. She told him about Imani, about being a single mom, about the father who'd left when their daughter was 2. She told him about her morning routine, getting Imani to school before taking 2 buses to reach the office. She told him about her dreams for Imani's future, about saving for college, about wanting better. Victor listened to every word and something in his chest ached. While he'd been barking orders about coffee temperatures and report formats, this woman had been fighting her own war every single day. And he'd made it harder. I'm sorry, he said when she finished. For every thoughtless demand. For every time I made you stay late without asking if you had somewhere to be. For treating you like you existed only to serve me. You didn't know, Camille said, though his words meant more than he probably realized. I should have known. I should have cared enough to ask. Victor looked at Imani, who was showing the waitress her coloring. What can I do to make this right? You can't, Camille said honestly. What's done is done. But you can be better going forward. I will be, Victor promised. Starting today. When breakfast was over and Victor insisted on paying, he walked them to Camille's bus stop. He looked at the schedule, at the time it would take her to get Imani to school and then herself to work. This is a lot of travel, he said. It's what we have, Camille replied. We make it work. Victor nodded slowly, an idea forming in his mind. But he kept it to himself for now. First, he needed to get home, get cleaned up, and process everything that had happened. Second, he needed to figure out how to help this woman who'd helped him, without overstepping or making her uncomfortable. As he watched Camille and Imani board their bus, Victor made a decision. His life was about to change. He just hoped he could help change theirs too. Camille spent Monday morning at work expecting the worst. She kept her head down, prepared for Victor to call her into his office and fire her. After all, she'd seen him at his lowest. She knew where he lived, what he looked like, drunk and vulnerable. In her experience, powerful men didn't like being seen that way. But 9 a.m. came and went. Then 10 a.m. Then 11 a.m. By lunch, Camille was a bundle of nerves. You okay? Her coworker Brenda asked, leaning over the partition between their desks. You've been jumpy all morning. Just tired, Camille lied. Rough weekend. Before Brenda could press further, Victor's office door opened. He stepped out, looking like his usual self in a perfectly tailored navy suit, his hair neat, his expression unreadable. But when his eyes found Camille, something in them softened. Miss Harris, could you come to my office please? Camille's stomach dropped. This was it. She followed him into his office, her heart pounding. The door clicked shut behind her. Please sit, Victor said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. Camille sat, her hands folded in her lap, preparing herself for whatever came next. Victor didn't sit behind his desk. Instead, he pulled over another chair and sat facing her, no barriers between them. First, thank you again for Friday night. I meant what I said at breakfast. You saved me. You're welcome, Camille said quietly. Second, I need to apologize for how I've treated you since you started working here. I've been demanding, critical, and thoughtless. I never asked about your life, your needs, or treated you like a person. That changes now. Camille blinked. Mr. Bradford. Victor, please. Can you call me Victor, at least when we're alone? Victor, she tried the name, feeling strange saying it. You don't need to change how you work because of one night. Yes, I do, Victor said firmly. That night showed me something about myself I didn't like. And it showed me the kind of person you are. Someone who helps even when it costs them. Someone who gives grace even when they've received none. I want to be better. For myself, yes, but also because you deserve better. Tears pricked Camille's eyes. She blinked them back. Thank you. Now, Victor continued, I'd like to make some changes to your position. Better hours that work with your daughter's school schedule. A raise effective immediately. And I want to help with some of the challenges you mentioned at breakfast. Camille stiffened. I didn't tell you about my life looking for handouts. I know. But I'm offering help anyway. Your car situation, for example. You mentioned it's been broken down for weeks and you can't afford the repairs. Let me handle it. Victor, I can't. You can, he said gently. Think of it as a bonus. Thank you. I have resources I don't use. You need reliable transportation. It makes sense. Camille wanted to refuse. Pride told her to refuse. But as she thought about taking 2 buses in the rain with Imani, about the times they'd been late because the bus broke down, about how much easier life would be with a working car, her resolve weakened. Why? She asked. Why would you do this? Victor was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Because Friday night reminded me that we're all human. All struggling with something. All in need of help sometimes. You gave me help when I needed it most. Let me return the favor. Just the car, Camille said finally. And I want to pay you back. No paying back. But if it makes you feel better, the car is a work expense. I need my assistant to be able to get to work reliably. Camille smiled despite herself. That's a thin excuse. It's the best I've got. Victor smiled back. Do we have a deal? Yes, Camille said, feeling like a weight had lifted. Thank you. Really, thank you. Over the next week, true to his word, Victor changed. He said good morning every day. He asked about Imani. He adjusted Camille's schedule so she could drop off and pick up her daughter without stress. When reports needed to be redone, he explained what needed fixing instead of just criticizing. The office noticed. People whispered about what had happened to make their demanding boss suddenly human. Brenda cornered Camille in the break room Wednesday afternoon. Okay, spill. What happened? Victor Bradford has been almost nice. People can change, Camille said, pouring her coffee. Not that fast they can't. Did something happen? Does he like you? What? No. Camille shook her head. We just had a moment of understanding. That's all. But even as she said it, Camille wondered. The way Victor looked at her sometimes like he was seeing her for the first time. The way he asked about her day, really asked and listened to the answer. The way he seemed lighter, happier, more present. Friday afternoon, a tow truck pulled up outside Camille's building. A mechanic knocked on her door with paperwork for her car, which was now fixed and running perfectly. The bill was marked paid in full. Camille called Victor immediately. This is too much. It's exactly enough, Victor replied. Enjoy your weekend, Camille. Spend time with Imani without worrying about bus schedules. That weekend, Camille drove Imani to the park. They got ice cream. They went to the library and checked out books. Simple things that had been hard became easy. And every time Camille turned the key in the ignition and the car started perfectly, she thought about Victor Bradford and the strange turn her life had taken. On Monday, she brought him coffee the way he liked it, but this time she brought herself one too and sat across from his desk as they went over the week's schedule. It felt different. Less like boss and employee, more like colleagues. Maybe even friends. How was your weekend? Victor asked. Good. Really good. Imani loved being able to just go places without the bus. I'm glad. Victor meant it. You both deserve easy days. Camille studied him. Can I ask you something personal? Anything. Why were you at that bar? You mentioned an anniversary. Victor's expression dimmed. My brother died 5 years ago. Car accident. I was supposed to be in the car with him, but I had a work meeting. I chose work over him and he died. Every year on that date I try to forget. Oh, Victor. Camille's heart hurt for him. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I've carried that guilt for a long time. But Friday night, lying on your couch, listening to you and Imani in the morning, I realized something. My brother wouldn't want me drowning in guilt. He'd want me to live. Really live. Not just work and drink and hide. He sounds like he was a good brother. The best. Victor smiled sadly. You would have liked him. He was kind like you. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, a new understanding between them. Camille realized that Victor wasn't just her boss anymore. He was a real person with real pain trying to be better. And she wanted to help him succeed. How about lunch? Victor asked suddenly. Not just us. Bring Imani. I'd like to get to know her better. She'd love that, Camille said, surprised by how happy the invitation made her. As Victor went back to his work and Camille returned to her desk, both of them felt something shift. Something new was beginning. Something neither of them had expected but both of them needed. The lunch date happened on a bright Saturday afternoon. Victor picked them up in his car, a sleek silver sedan that made Imani's eyes go wide. But what surprised Camille most was how normal he seemed. No designer suit, just nice jeans and a blue button-down shirt. No driver, he was behind the wheel himself. No airs, just a man picking up friends for lunch. "Where are we going?" Imani asked from the back seat, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "I thought we'd try that new burger place downtown," Victor said, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. "I heard they have the best milkshakes in the city. What's your favorite flavor?" "Chocolate," Imani answered immediately. "With whipped cream and a cherry." "Then chocolate it is." The restaurant was casual and bright, filled with families and friends. They ordered burgers and fries, and Victor made faces at Imani when she tried to steal his fries, making her giggle. Camille watched this interaction with amazement. This was a side of Victor she never imagined existed. "Tell me about school, Imani," Victor said. "What's your favorite subject?" "Reading," Imani said proudly. "I'm the best reader in my class. But math is hard." "Math is hard for everyone at first," Victor agreed. "But you know what helps? Practice. Maybe I could help you sometime." Imani looked at her mother for permission. Camille nodded, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "That would be nice." As they ate, Victor asked Camille more about her life. She told him about growing up in the city, about her parents who worked hard to give her opportunities, about meeting Jerome in college and thinking they'd build a life together. "What happened?" Victor asked gently. "With Imani's father, if you don't mind my asking." Camille sighed. "He wasn't ready to be a father. Imani was 6 months old when he said he needed space. That space turned into 2 years of nothing. No calls, no visits, no child support. He just disappeared." "I'm sorry. That's incredibly hard." "We manage," Camille said, glancing at Imani who was focused on her milkshake. "Some days are harder than others, but we have each other." Victor watched mother and daughter, seeing the bond between them, the love that held them together despite everything. It stirred something in him, a longing for connection he'd buried under work and grief. "Can I ask you something?" Victor said. "And please be honest. Your medical bills, you mentioned Imani has asthma. Are you managing okay?" Camille's expression tightened. This was the thing she didn't talk about, the weight that kept her up at night. "We're managing," she said carefully. "Camille." Victor's voice was soft but serious. "I need you to be honest with me. Are you managing or are you drowning?" Tears threatened, but Camille held them back. "I'm behind. 3 months behind on payments. They're threatening to send it to collections. Her medication is expensive, and insurance only covers part of it. I'm trying, but let me help." "Victor, I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm offering. Please, let me help with the medical bills." "That's too much," Camille whispered. "That's thousands of dollars. And I have thousands of dollars that I don't need. Money sitting in accounts doing nothing while you're stressed and scared. Take the help, Camille. For Imani." Camille looked at her daughter, who was happily slurping her milkshake, unaware of the adult conversation happening. She thought about the bills stacked on her kitchen counter. She thought about the collection calls she'd been ignoring. She thought about her pride versus her daughter's health. "Okay," she said finally. "Thank you. I'll pay you back someday." "No you won't," Victor said firmly but kindly. "This isn't a loan. It's a gift. Let it be a gift." Camille nodded, unable to speak around the lump in her throat. Victor reached across the table and squeezed her hand briefly, a gesture of support that sent unexpected warmth through her. "Mommy, can Victor come to my school play?" Imani asked suddenly, having finished her milkshake. "It's next Friday. I'm a flower." Camille started to make excuses, but Victor spoke first. "I'd love to come." "What time?" 7 o'clock, Imani said, beaming. "I have a costume and everything." "Then I'll be there," Victor promised. He looked at Camille. "If that's okay with you." "It's okay," Camille said softly. "More than okay." Having someone else there, someone who cared, someone who wanted to support Imani, felt like a gift in itself. After lunch, Victor drove them home. But before they got out of the car, he turned to Camille. "I meant what I said. About all of it. The medical bills, the help, being there. I'm not going anywhere." "Why?" Camille asked. "Why are you doing all this for us?" Victor was quiet for a long moment. "Because you showed me kindness when I deserved none. Because your daughter deserves a childhood without stress. Because I have the means to help and it feels right. And because—" He paused, searching for words. "Because knowing you both has reminded me what matters. You've given me more than you know." Camille felt her heart squeeze. This man, her boss, who'd been cold and distant for months, was now showing her more care than anyone had in years. It was overwhelming and wonderful and terrifying all at once. "Thank you," she said simply. That week, Victor was true to his word. Camille received confirmation that her medical bills had been paid in full. Her account showed zero balance. When she tried to thank Victor at work, he just smiled and changed the subject. But around the office, people noticed more changes. Victor laughed more. He remembered people's names. He asked about families and hobbies. He left the office at reasonable hours instead of working until midnight. And he looked at Camille like she hung the moon, though neither of them had acknowledged what was growing between them. Friday evening, Victor showed up at Imani's school play wearing casual clothes and holding a bouquet of flowers. He sat with Camille in the audience, their shoulders touching in the crowded auditorium. When Imani appeared on stage in her flower costume, Victor clapped louder than anyone. After the play, Imani ran to them, her face glowing with pride. "Did you see me? Did I do good?" "You were perfect," Victor said, handing her the flowers. "The best flower I've ever seen." Imani threw her arms around Victor's legs in an impulsive hug. Victor froze for a moment, then gently hugged her back, his eyes meeting Camille's over Imani's head. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them. Something about family and belonging and new beginnings. As they walked to the parking lot together, Imani between them holding both their hands, Camille felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real, solid hope that life could be different. Better. That kindness could lead to something beautiful. Victor felt it too. The rightness of this, the three of them together. He'd been alone for so long, buried in work and guilt. But with Camille and Imani he felt alive again. Like he'd found something he didn't know he was missing. "Ice cream?" Victor suggested. "Yes." Imani cheered. Camille laughed. "You're going to spoil her." "That's the plan," Victor said, grinning. And for the first time in 5 years he felt genuinely happy. Monday morning felt different. Camille walked into the office with her head high, stress she'd carried for years finally lifted. Her medical bills were paid. Her car ran perfectly. Her daughter was healthy and happy. And her boss, who'd become something more than a boss, made her believe in second chances. "Good morning, Camille," Victor said when she arrived at her desk. His smile was warm, genuine. "Coffee?" "I'll get it," she started to say. "I've got it. You take care of the Henderson report. I'll be back in 5 minutes." Camille watched him walk toward the break room, then noticed Brenda staring from across the partition. "What?" Camille asked. "He's getting you coffee," Brenda hissed. "The boss is getting his assistant coffee. What alternate universe is this? Maybe he's just being nice." "Nice? This is Victor Bradford. The man once made an intern cry over staple placement. Now he's practically floating around here asking about everyone's weekends. What happened?" "He's growing as a person," Camille said diplomatically. "Is he growing toward you specifically?" Brenda asked with a raised eyebrow. Before Camille could answer, Victor returned with 2 coffees. "One for you," he said, placing it on her desk. "And Brenda, I couldn't help overhearing. How was your weekend?" Brenda's mouth fell open. "It was good. Thanks for asking." Victor nodded and headed back to his office, leaving Brenda staring after him. "Okay, seriously. What happened?" "He just decided to be better," Camille said, sipping her perfectly made coffee. "That's all." But it wasn't all, and Camille knew it. Over the following weeks, Victor's presence in her life grew. He texted to check on Imani when she had a cold. He sent flowers to the apartment with a note that said, "Just because." He joined them for weekend activities, teaching Imani to ride a bike in the park, helping with homework at the library, attending parent-teacher conferences as a supportive friend. The office gossip intensified. People speculated about a relationship, but Victor and Camille kept things professional at work. Still, anyone paying attention could see the way they looked at each other. The way Victor's whole face softened when Camille walked into a room. The way Camille's smile became brighter when Victor was around. One Thursday evening, Victor invited them to dinner at his penthouse. Camille had never seen where he lived, and she was nervous as they rode the elevator to the top floor. But when the doors opened into his home, she was struck by how empty it felt. The penthouse was beautiful, all modern furniture and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. But there were no personal touches. No photos on the walls. No books lying around. No signs that someone actually lived here versus just existed here. "Wow," Imani breathed, running to the windows. "You can see everything. Pretty cool, right?" Victor said, but Camille heard the hollowness in his voice. "It's beautiful," she said. "But it doesn't feel like you." Victor looked at her, surprised. "What do you mean?" It's too empty. Too perfect. You're warmer than this space suggests. I never thought about it, Victor admitted. I bought this place 5 years ago after my brother died. I just hired someone to furnish it. I never made it a home. Why not? Victor was quiet, looking around at his expensive, impersonal space. Because I didn't feel like I deserved a home. I felt like I deserved to exist in beautiful emptiness. Punishment for choosing work over my brother. Camille's heart ached. Victor, you can't punish yourself forever. I'm learning that, he said softly, his eyes on her. Slowly. They had dinner at his massive dining table that could seat 12 but had probably never hosted more than Victor alone. Imani chattered about school, filling the space with life. After dinner they watched a movie on Victor's huge television, Imani falling asleep between them on the couch. She likes you, Camille whispered, not wanting to wake her daughter. I like her too, Victor said. She's amazing. Smart, funny kind. Just like her mother. Camille felt heat rise in her cheeks. Victor. I mean it. You've changed my life, Camille. Before that night in the rain I was just going through motions. Work, sleep, repeat. Drinking to forget every painful anniversary. Existing but not living. You showed me there was more. You did the work yourself, Camille said. I just gave you a safe place to land. You gave me more than that. You gave me hope. They sat in comfortable silence, Imani sleeping between them, the city lights twinkling below. It felt domestic, comfortable, right? Like they could do this every night and never tire of it. I should get her home, Camille said eventually. Stay, Victor said impulsively. I have guest rooms. Stay the night. It's late and I'd feel better knowing you're both safe here. Camille hesitated, but only for a moment. Okay. Victor carried Imani to a guest room, laying her gently on the bed. Camille tucked her in, kissing her forehead. When they stepped into the hallway, Victor showed Camille to another guest room. Thank you for tonight, he said at the doorway. For bringing life to this place. Thank you for letting us in, Camille replied. They stood close, closer than necessary, the air between them charged with unspoken feelings. Victor reached up, gently tucking a curl behind Camille's ear. Good night, Camille. Good night, Victor. Camille lay awake in the comfortable guest bed, thinking about how much her life had changed. 6 weeks ago, Victor was her demanding boss and nothing more. Now he was her friend, her supporter, and maybe, possibly, something more. She thought about the way he looked at her, the way her heart raced when he was near, the way Imani had started calling him Mr. Victor with genuine affection. Was she falling for him? Was he falling for her? What would happen if they crossed that line from friendship to something more? What if it ended badly and she lost her job, lost the support system she'd come to rely on? But then she thought about the flowers he sent, just because. About him carrying Imani to bed so gently. About the way he'd paid her medical bills without hesitation. About how he'd shown up to a school play and clapped the loudest. About how he looked at her like she was precious, valuable, worth his time and attention. Maybe, Camille thought, maybe it was okay to hope for more. Maybe kindness could lead to love. Maybe second chances were real. In his own room, Victor stared at the ceiling thinking similar thoughts. He'd never expected this. Never imagined that helping his assistant would turn into discovering what he'd been missing his whole life. Family. Connection. Love. Because he did love her. He'd realized it that night at the school play, watching her beam with pride at her daughter. He loved Camille's strength, her kindness, her grace under pressure. He loved how she made him want to be better. He loved Imani's laughter and curiosity. He loved who he was becoming with them in his life. But was it too soon? Too complicated? Would Camille even want him like that, or was he just a boss who'd shown basic human decency? Victor didn't know. But he knew he wanted to find out. He wanted to tell Camille how he felt. He wanted to ask if she felt it too, this growing thing between them. He wanted to build something real, something lasting, something worthy of the second chance she'd given him. Tomorrow, he decided. Tomorrow he'd start figuring out how to tell her. The next morning, Camille woke to the smell of pancakes. She found Victor in the kitchen, cooking while Imani sat at the counter, telling him a story about her friend at school. Victor listened intently, flipping pancakes with surprising skill. Morning, Camille said, struck again by how domestic this felt. Morning. I hope pancakes are okay. Imani said they're her favorite. They are. You didn't have to. I wanted to, Victor said simply. Coffee's ready. They ate breakfast together, then Victor drove them home. I'll see you at work Monday, he said as they got out of the car. But his eyes said more. His eyes said he didn't want to say goodbye. Monday, Camille agreed, her heart doing strange flips. That week at work they fell into an easy rhythm. Professional during business hours, but with an underlying warmth that wasn't there before. Victor continued his transformation, not just with Camille but with everyone. The office became a better place to work. People smiled more. Stress levels dropped. It was like Victor's personal change was radiating outward. Wednesday afternoon, Victor knocked on Camille's desk partition. "Can you help me with something? Not work-related." "Sure. What is it?" "My penthouse. You said it doesn't feel like me. I want to change that, but I don't know where to start. Will you help me make it feel like a home?" Camille's smile could have lit the city. "I'd love to." That Saturday, Camille, Imani, and Victor spent the day shopping for personal touches. They picked out photos frames, books, comfortable throw blankets, plants to bring life to the space. Imani helped choose colors, insisting Victor needed a green plant for his living room and blue pillows for his couch. "Why blue?" Victor asked, indulging her opinion. "Because blue is a happy color," Imani said seriously. "And you need to be happy." Victor caught Camille's eye over Imani's head. "She's right. I do need to be happy." Back at the penthouse they spent hours arranging things. Victor hung photos of his brother, finally ready to display memories instead of hide from them. He added pictures of his parents, of places he'd traveled. Camille suggested arranging his books by color, making the shelves look less stark. Imani placed plants in strategic locations, talking to each one like they were new friends. By evening the penthouse looked different. Lived in. Warm. Like someone actually called it home. "This is better," Victor said, looking around. "So much better. Thank you." "It looks like you now," Camille said. Welcoming, warm, real. They ordered pizza for dinner, eating on the floor of Victor's living room like college kids, laughing at Imani's jokes. When Imani fell asleep watching a movie, Victor covered her with one of the new blankets. "She does that a lot," Camille said fondly. "Falls asleep during movies. I don't mind. I like having you both here." They sat together on the couch, comfortable in the quiet. Outside, the city sparkled, but inside, everything felt peaceful. "Can I tell you something?" Victor asked. "Anything. I haven't been this happy in 5 years. Maybe longer. You and Imani, you've given me something I thought I'd lost forever. Purpose. Connection. A reason to come home instead of just work until I'm exhausted." "We care about you too," Camille said softly. "You've been so good to us. So generous and kind. It's easy to be kind to people you—" Victor paused, choosing his words carefully. "To people you care deeply about." The air between them shifted, charged with possibility. Camille's heart raced. Was he saying what she thought he was saying? Before either could speak further, Imani stirred on the couch, murmuring in her sleep. The moment passed, but something had been acknowledged. Something was growing between them, something real and precious and worth nurturing. The next few weeks continued in the same pattern. Victor became part of their lives and they became part of his. He attended Imani's doctor appointments, sitting in the waiting room with Camille, holding her hand when they got good news that Imani's asthma was under control. He helped with homework on weeknights, explaining math problems with patience Camille never expected from him. He learned to braid hair from YouTube videos so he could help Imani when Camille was running late. At work, people stopped gossiping and started accepting. This was who Victor was now. A man who cared about his employees, who asked about families, who remembered birthdays and celebrated achievements. A man who looked at his assistant like she was the sun he orbited around. "You know people are talking, right?" Brenda said one day at lunch. "Let them talk," Camille replied, more confident now. "We're not doing anything wrong." "Are you dating?" "No." "Where?" Camille paused. "What were they?" "We're friends." "Friends who look at each other like that?" Camille blushed. "It's complicated." "It doesn't have to be," Brenda said gently. "He clearly adores you. And you light up when he's around. What's stopping you?" "Fear maybe. He's my boss. What if it doesn't work out? What if I lose my job, lose the stability I've finally found? Or what if it's amazing and you find something real? You can't let fear stop you from living, Camille." Camille knew Brenda was right. But knowing something and doing something were different things. She needed time. She needed to be sure. She needed to know Victor felt the same way before risking everything. What she didn't know was that Victor was having similar thoughts. He'd fallen for Camille completely, but he worried about the power dynamic. Would she feel pressured? Would people think he'd taken advantage? Would it ruin what they'd built if he told her how he felt? But every day that passed made it harder to stay silent. Every smile from Camille, every laugh from Imani, Every moment they shared together made him more certain. This was real. This was right. This was what he wanted for the rest of his life. He just needed to find the courage to tell her. If you're enjoying this story of second chances and growing love, please subscribe to follow Camille and Victor's journey. Your support helps us create more heartwarming content. Comment below about whether you think Victor should tell Camille how he feels. Victor made his decision on a Thursday morning. He'd invite Camille and Imani to his lake house for the weekend. A change of scenery, time away from the city, space to talk about what was growing between them. He'd tell her how he felt. Whatever happened next, at least he'd have been honest. "Camille," he said, finding her at her desk. "Do you have plans this weekend?" "Nothing major." "Why?" "I have a lake house about 2 hours north. I thought maybe you and Imani would like to get out of the city. Fresh air, nature, swimming. What do you think?" Camille's immediate reaction was excitement, followed quickly by nerves. A weekend away, just the three of them. It felt significant. Like they were stepping into new territory. "Imani would love it," she said carefully. "She's never been to a lake house." "Is that a yes?" Camille looked at Victor, seeing the hope in his eyes, the vulnerability. "Yes. We'd love to go." Victor's smile was brilliant. "Perfect. We'll leave Friday after work." That evening, Camille told Imani about the trip. Her daughter bounced around the apartment with excitement, already planning what to pack, what games to play, what snacks to bring. "Mr. Victor is the best," Imani declared. "Can he be our family, Mommy?" Camille's breath caught. "Baby, Mr. Victor is our friend." "But can't friends become family?" "Mrs. Chin says family is who you choose, not just who you're born with." "Mrs. Chin is right," Camille said softly. "Family is who you choose." Friday afternoon arrived and they drove north out of the city. Imani talked nonstop from the back seat, asking questions about the lake, about fish, about boats. Victor answered each one patiently, occasionally catching Camille's eye with a smile. The lake house was beautiful but modest by Victor's standards. A cozy 2-bedroom cabin with a screened porch, a dock extending into the clear water, and trees surrounding them in peaceful privacy. "It's perfect," Camille breathed, taking in the view. "My brother and I bought this place together," Victor said quietly. "After he died, I couldn't come back. This is my first time here in 5 years." Camille understood the significance. Victor was sharing something precious, something painful. He was trusting them with his grief and his healing. That evening they grilled burgers on the porch while Imani explored the dock. Lightning bugs began to glow as dusk fell, and Imani chased them with delighted shrieks. Victor and Camille watched from the porch steps, shoulders touching. "Thank you for being here," Victor said. "I wasn't sure I could come back to this place. But with you both here it feels right." "Your brother would be happy you're here," Camille said. "Happy you're living again." "I think he would. I think he'd like you both. He'd say I was lucky to have met you." "We're the lucky ones," Camille replied. "You've given us so much. You've given me more." They sat in comfortable silence, watching Imani play, the lake reflecting the sunset in shades of orange and pink. It was peaceful in a way neither of them had experienced in years. Later, after Imani was asleep in the guest room, Victor and Camille sat on the dock with their feet dangling in the water. Stars filled the sky, more visible here than in the city. The night was warm, the water cool, the moment perfect. "Camille," Victor started, his heart pounding. "I need to tell you something." "Okay," she said, hearing the seriousness in his tone. "These past 2 months have been the best of my life. Not because of the money or success or any material thing. Because of you and Imani. You've reminded me how to be human. How to feel. How to hope for more than just surviving." "Victor. Let me finish, please. That night you saved me, you changed everything. I was drowning in grief and guilt, using work to avoid feeling anything real. But you showed me kindness I hadn't earned, and it broke something open in me. It made me want to be better. To be worthy of that kindness." Camille's eyes filled with tears. She could see where this was going, could feel it in her bones. "I've fallen for you," Victor said simply. "Completely. I love the way you care for Imani. I love your strength and grace. I love your laugh and your kindness and the way you see good in people even when they don't deserve it. I love who I am when I'm with you. And I understand if you don't feel the same way, if this is too complicated or too soon. But I needed you to know. I needed to be honest." Tears spilled down Camille's cheeks. "Victor, You don't have to say anything," he said quickly. "I just wanted you to know." "No," Camille said, finding her voice. "I need to say something. I've been falling for you too. Every day a little more. The way you've cared for Imani. The way you've supported me without asking for anything in return. The way you've become part of our lives like you've always been there. I was scared to admit it, scared of what it meant, scared of losing what we've built if things didn't work out. But I'm tired of being scared. Victor's breath caught. You feel the same way? Yes, Camille said, smiling through her tears. I do. I love you, Victor. I love your heart and your growth and your genuine care. I love how you've changed not just for us but for yourself. I love the man you've become. Victor reached for her hand, threading their fingers together. Can I kiss you? Yes. The kiss was soft and sweet, full of promise and hope. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling, their foreheads resting together. So what now? Camille asked. Now we figure it out together, Victor said. We take it slow. We do what's right for you and Imani. We build something real. I'd like that. They sat on the dock until late, talking about their hopes and fears, their plans and dreams. They talked about telling Imani, about navigating their relationship at work, about what the future might hold. Everything felt possible suddenly. Everything felt right. The next morning, they woke to Imani's excited voice. Mommy, Mr. Victor, look at the ducks. They spent the day swimming, exploring, laughing. Victor taught Imani to skip stones. Camille took photos of them together. They had a picnic lunch on the dock, then napped in the hammock strung between two trees. That evening as they packed to leave, Imani hugged Victor tight. Can we come back here? Anytime you want, Victor promised. This is our place now. All three of us. On the drive home, Imani fell asleep in the back seat. Victor reached over and took Camille's hand, and she held it all the way back to the city. Something had shifted this weekend. Something fundamental. They were no longer boss and assistant, no longer just friends. They were something more. Something beautiful. Something worth protecting. Monday at work felt different. Victor and Camille kept things professional, but there was an undercurrent of joy, a shared secret that made everything brighter. They'd agreed to keep their relationship private for now, to figure things out before making any announcements. But Brenda noticed immediately. You look different, she said, cornering Camille in the break room. Glowing. What happened this weekend? Just a nice trip to a lake house, Camille said, trying to downplay it. With Victor? And Imani, yes. Brenda's eyes went wide. Oh my goodness. Something happened. You two finally. Shoo, Camille hushed her, glancing around. We're taking things slow. Snoo. Please don't say anything. My lips are sealed, Brenda promised, then hugged Camille tight. I'm happy for you. You deserve this. The week proceeded smoothly. Victor and Camille found moments alone, stolen kisses in his office after everyone left, texts throughout the day that made them both smile. It felt like being teenagers discovering feelings for the first time, except better because they were adults who understood what they were building. Wednesday evening, Camille was cooking dinner in her apartment when someone knocked on the door. Imani was at Mrs. Chen's doing homework. Camille expected it to be her neighbor returning something. Instead, when she opened the door, she found Jerome. Her ex-husband stood in the hallway, looking older but still recognizable. His hair was longer, his clothes wrinkled, his eyes holding something between regret and entitlement. Camille, he said. Can we talk? Camille's stomach dropped. What are you doing here? I want to see my daughter. You haven't wanted to see her in 2 years. You left us, Jerome. You walked away. I made a mistake. I'm here to make it right. Make it right? Camille felt anger rising, hot and protective. You don't get to show up after 2 years and act like father of the year. Imani doesn't even remember you. I'm her father. I have rights. Rights? Camille's voice rose. You gave up your rights when you stopped showing up. When you stopped paying support. When you disappeared without a word. You don't get to waltz back into our lives now that they're stable. Jerome's expression hardened. I know about your boss. About his money. About the car and the medical bills. You think I won't go to court? Say you're taking money from men in exchange for who knows what. Camille felt like she'd been slapped. Get out. I want to see Imani. No. I'll get a lawyer. I'll take you to court. I'll make this ugly, Camille. Before Camille could respond, another voice spoke from behind Jerome. You'll do no such thing. Victor stepped into view, his expression cold in a way Camille had never seen. He'd been coming to visit, to bring dinner, and had arrived just in time to hear the end of the conversation. And who are you? Jerome asked. Someone who won't let you intimidate this woman or threaten that little girl. Leave. Now. This is between me and my ex-wife. No, Victor said firmly. This is between you and the door. Choose wisely. Jerome looked between them, calculating. Then he stepped back. This isn't over, Camille. I know my rights. After he left, Camille collapsed against the doorframe, shaking. Victor caught her, holding her steady. He wants Imani, she whispered. He's going to try to take her from me. No, he's not, Victor said firmly. I promise you he's not. We'll get you the best lawyer. We'll fight this legally and properly. He has no case, Camille. He abandoned you both. Courts care about what's best for the child, and that's staying with her mother who's raised her alone. What if he tries to make something dirty out of your help? What if he uses our relationship against me? Then we'll show the truth. That I care about you and Imani deeply. That my help has been genuine and freely given. That you're an amazing mother who's provided stability and love. Any court will see that. Camille wanted to believe him, but fear was strong. I can't lose her, Victor. She's everything. You won't, Victor promised. I'll make sure of it. But Camille, you need to call Mrs. Chen. Get Imani home. She needs to know her father might try to contact her, needs to know to tell you or a trusted adult if he does. Camille nodded, pulling herself together. She called Mrs. Chen, who brought Imani home immediately. Camille explained age-appropriately that Imani's father had come back and wanted to see her. I don't remember him, Imani said, confused. I know, baby. And that's okay. But if he tries to talk to you at school or anywhere, you tell your teacher or Mrs. Chen or me right away, okay? Okay, Imani said, then looked at Victor. Are you staying? If your mom wants me to, yes. I want you to, Imani said firmly. You keep us safe. Victor's heart melted. He looked at Camille, who nodded. Then I'm staying. That night, after Imani was asleep, Victor held Camille while she cried out her fear and frustration. I thought we were done with this. Thought Jerome was gone for good. We'll handle it, Victor said. Together. I'll call my lawyer tomorrow. We'll file paperwork, establish that Jerome abandoned his parental responsibilities, get a custody arrangement formalized that protects Imani. This is going to cost money. Court costs, lawyer fees. I don't care about money, Victor said firmly. I care about you and Imani. Let me help, Camille. Let me stand by your side through this. You've already done so much. And I'll do more. Because I love you. Because Imani matters to me. Because this is what people do when they care about each other. They stand together when things are hard. Camille clung to him, drawing strength from his certainty. Thank you. For being here. For not running when things got complicated. I'm not going anywhere, Victor promised. We're in this together. The next day, Victor took Camille to meet with his lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Reynolds who specialized in family law. She listened to the situation, took notes, and then gave them her assessment. He has no case, Patricia said firmly. 2 years of abandonment, no child support, no contact. The courts will see through any claims he makes. We'll file for full legal custody for Camille, establish a formal abandonment claim, and prepare for any attempt he makes to counter. If he tries to attack Ms. Harris's character based on your assistance, Mr. Bradford, we'll present evidence of legitimate, appropriate support that any caring friend might provide. How long will this take? Camille asked. Depends on if he actually files anything. He may just be trying to scare you looking for money. Give me a week to file the paperwork. In the meantime, document everything. If he contacts you, if he tries to see Imani, if he makes threats. Everything gets documented. Camille felt some relief. Having a plan helped. Having Victor and Patricia on her side helped more. Over the next week, Jerome tried twice more to contact Camille. Once at her building where Mrs. Chen ran him off. Once at Imani's school, where the office called Camille immediately and she got there before he could see Imani. Each time was documented. Each time built their case stronger. Patricia filed for full legal custody and formal child support claims. Within days, Jerome got the paperwork. He called Camille, angry and threatening, but she recorded the call per Patricia's instructions. His threats only helped their case. 2 weeks later, Jerome showed up at the custody hearing Patricia had requested, but without a lawyer. He tried to represent himself, claiming he wanted to be in his daughter's life. But when Patricia presented the evidence, the timeline of abandonment, the lack of support, the recent threats, the judge was unmoved. Mr. Williams, you abandoned your daughter for 2 years. You provided no financial support, no contact, no presence in her life. Now that her mother has established stability, you've returned with threats and intimidation. This court finds no evidence that your involvement would benefit the child. Full legal and physical custody is granted to Ms. Harris. You may petition for supervised visitation after completing parenting classes and maintaining employment for 6 months, at which point this court will reconsider. Until then, you are not to contact Ms. Harris or the minor child. Do you understand? Jerome's face fell. He'd expected different, expected to use threats and fear to get what he wanted. But the law didn't work that way. Yes, Your Honor. Outside the courthouse, Camille collapsed into Victor's arms. It's over. It's over, Victor confirmed. You did it. Imani is safe. Patricia smiled at them both. Call me if he violates the order. Otherwise, enjoy your peace. You earned it. That evening, the three of them celebrated with ice cream and a movie night. Imani didn't fully understand what had happened, just that the man who claimed to be her father wouldn't bother them anymore. She was happy to return to normal, to her life with her mom and Mr. Victor. As Camille tucked Imani into bed that night, her daughter whispered, "I'm glad Mr. Victor is here. He makes everything better." "He does," Camille agreed, kissing her forehead. "Sleep tight, baby." In the living room, Victor waited. When Camille emerged, he pulled her close. "You okay?" "More than okay. Relieved. Grateful. Happy. So many things." "Good. Because I was thinking maybe it's time we stopped hiding us. Tell people at work. Be open about what we're building." Camille smiled. "I'd like that. I'm tired of pretending you're just my boss." "Tomorrow then. We'll tell people tomorrow." "Tomorrow," Camille agreed and kissed him. The fear of the past weeks melted away, leaving only hope for the future. Monday morning, Victor called a staff meeting. People filed into the conference room, curious and slightly nervous. Victor usually didn't do group meetings unless something big was happening. Camille sat at her usual spot, her heart racing. They'd agreed to tell everyone today, but now that the moment was here, she was anxious. What would people think? Would they judge her? Would they think she'd slept her way to better treatment? Victor stood at the head of the table, confident but also slightly nervous in a way people rarely saw him. "Thank you all for coming. I wanted to share some news and I wanted to do it honestly and directly." The room was silent, waiting. "Most of you have noticed changes in me over the past few months. I've become more present, more considerate, more human. Those changes are because of Camille Harris." Victor's eyes found hers across the room. "She saved me one night when I was at my lowest. She showed me kindness I hadn't earned and didn't deserve. And through getting to know her and her daughter, I've learned what truly matters in life." People exchanged glances, following his gaze to Camille. "Camille and I have developed a relationship beyond professional. We're together, dating, building something real. I want to be transparent about this because I value all of you and because I won't hide something this important. I love her and I'm proud to say that publicly." Camille felt tears prick her eyes. Victor had just declared his love in front of the entire office, risking judgment and gossip, because honesty mattered more. "I want to assure everyone that this doesn't affect your jobs or your positions. Camille earned her place here through hard work and skill. My personal feelings don't change professional standards or expectations. What has changed is that I'm a better boss now, and that's thanks to what she's taught me about compassion and balance." He paused, looking around the room. "If anyone has concerns or questions, my door is open. But I wanted you to hear this from me, directly and honestly." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Brenda started clapping. Others joined in. Within seconds, the whole room was applauding, many people smiling genuinely. "It's about time," someone called out, and people laughed. After the meeting, co-workers approached Camille with congratulations and support. A few made jokes about how obvious it had been. But overwhelmingly, people were happy for them. The office gossip became celebration instead of judgment. That evening, Victor took Camille and Imani to dinner at a nice restaurant, nothing over the top but special enough to mark the occasion. Imani wore her favorite maroon dress, excited to be somewhere fancy. "Can I tell people Mr. Victor is my mommy's boyfriend?" Imani asked over appetizers. Camille and Victor exchanged glances. "If you want to," Camille said. "Is that okay with you?" "More than okay," Imani declared. "My friend Tasha's mom has a boyfriend and he's nice but not as nice as Mr. Victor." Victor laughed. "I'll take that as a compliment." As dinner continued, Victor grew more thoughtful. He'd been planning this moment for days, waiting for the right time. With the Jerome situation resolved and their relationship now public, it felt right. "I have something I want to say," Victor began, his hand finding Camille's across the table. "These past few months have been the most important of my life. Not because of business or money but because I found you both. You've given me a family, something I didn't know I needed so desperately." Camille's heart raced. She could feel something big coming. I love you, Camille. I love your strength, your grace, your enormous heart. I love how you've let me into your life even when I didn't deserve it. I love how you've shown me what truly matters. Victor. Camille whispered. And I love you, Imani. Your laughter, your curiosity, your kind heart. You've taught me how to play, how to see wonder in small things, how to be present. Imani beamed at him, not quite understanding where this was going but loving the attention. I know it's fast. I know we've only been together a few months. But I also know that when something is right, timing doesn't matter as much as truth. And the truth is, I want to spend my life with both of you. I want to wake up every morning and have breakfast together. I want to help with homework and attend school plays and build a real family. Victor took a deep breath, reaching into his pocket. Camille's breath caught. I don't have a ring yet because I wanted to ask first, wanted to make sure this was what you wanted too. But Camille Harris, will you marry me? Will you let me be your partner, your support, your person? And Imani, will you let me be part of your family officially? Tears streamed down Camille's face. This man who had been a cold boss just months ago, was now offering her everything. A future, a partnership, a family built on genuine love and respect. Yes, she said through her tears. Yes, yes, yes. Imani squealed with delight. Does this mean Mr. Victor will live with us? It means we'll figure out where we all live together, Victor said, laughing and crying at the same time. As a family. Imani jumped out of her chair and hugged Victor tight. I love you, Mr. Victor. I love you too, sweetheart. The restaurant erupted in applause. Apparently, other diners had been watching this unfold, moved by the obvious love between this new family. Victor didn't care. He held both of his girls close, feeling more complete than he'd ever felt in his life. Later that night, after dropping off a very excited Imani who couldn't stop talking about the proposal, Victor and Camille sat in his car outside her apartment building. Are you sure about this? Camille asked. Marriage is a big step. I've never been more sure of anything, Victor said. You and Imani are my future. Everything else is just details we'll figure out together. What about work? Living situations? All the practical stuff? We'll handle it. Maybe you transition to a different role at the company so there's no conflict of interest. Maybe we find a house with space for Imani to have her own big room. Maybe we adopt more kids someday or get a dog or travel the world. The specifics don't matter as much as the commitment. I'm committed to you, to us, to this family we're building. Camille leaned over and kissed him, pouring all her love and hope into it. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. Let's go ring shopping this weekend, she said. Something simple. I don't need anything fancy. You'll get what makes you happy, Victor said. Fancy, simple, whatever feels right to you. As Camille walked into her building, she turned back to wave at Victor. He waved back, neither wanting to say goodbye even though they'd see each other tomorrow. This was love, Camille thought. Real, genuine, life-changing love. The kind built on kindness and respect, on genuine care and mutual support. The kind that lasted. Inside her apartment, she checked on Imani, who was already asleep with a smile on her face. Camille sat on the edge of her daughter's bed, stroking her braided hair. We're going to be okay, baby, she whispered. Better than okay. We're going to be happy. And for the first time in years, Camille truly believed it. All the struggling, all the hard days, all the nights wondering how she'd make it through, had led to this. To Victor, to love, to a future full of possibility. Kindness had led the way. Hope had kept her going. And love, genuine and true, had given her everything she'd ever wanted. 6 months flew by in a blur of happiness. Victor and Camille picked out a beautiful ring together, a simple emerald-cut diamond that caught the light perfectly. They found a house in a good school district, big enough for everyone but cozy enough to feel like home. Imani got her own room, painted the color she chose, filled with books and toys and love. Camille transitioned to a project management role at the company, no longer Victor's direct report, which eliminated any conflict of interest. She excelled in her new position, proving what Victor had always known. Her skills went far beyond being an assistant. She was capable, intelligent, and deserving of recognition in her own right. Victor continued to change and grow. He started a foundation focused on supporting single parents, inspired by Camille's struggles. He worked reasonable hours, prioritizing family time over endless meetings. He coached Imani's soccer team, attended every school event, and became as much a fixture in her life as any biological father could be. They had the adoption papers drawn up. Victor wanted to officially adopt Imani, to make their family legal in every way. Jerome had never reappeared, had never even attempted to complete the requirements for supervised visitation. He'd moved on, thankfully, leaving them in peace. On a bright Saturday in June, they held their wedding. Not a huge event, just close friends and family in the backyard of their new home. Camille wore a beautiful green dress that made her skin glow. Imani wore a matching lighter shade of green, serving as flower girl and junior bridesmaid rolled into one. Victor wore a classic navy suit, looking happier than anyone had ever seen him. Mrs. Chen was there, crying happy tears. Brenda stood as Camille's maid of honor. Patricia Reynolds came, proud of how things had worked out. Co-workers attended, celebrating the love story they'd watched unfold. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. Victor and Camille wrote their own vows, speaking from the heart about second chances and unexpected blessings. "I promise to be your partner in all things," Victor said, his voice thick with emotion. "To support your dreams, to share your burdens, to celebrate your victories. I promise to be a father to Imani, not by blood but by choice and love. I promise to remember that the best things in life aren't things at all, but the people we share our time with." Camille smiled through happy tears. "I promise to trust you even when fear tries to convince me otherwise. I promise to let you help, to share my struggles, to build a life together instead of just surviving alone. I promise to remind you on hard days that you are loved and valued beyond measure. And I promise to never stop being grateful for the night that changed everything, the night that brought you into our lives." When they kissed, sealing their marriage, Imani cheered the loudest. "That's my family," she announced proudly to anyone who would listen. The reception was joyful and relaxed. They danced under string lights. They ate good food and laughed with friends. Victor and Camille had their first dance to a slow song, holding each other close, marveling at how far they'd come. Later, Victor danced with Imani, letting her stand on his feet as they swayed to the music. "I love you, Dad," Imani said, using the title she'd started calling him weeks ago. Victor's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too, sweetheart. So very much." As the evening wound down and guests departed, the new family stood together in their backyard, looking at the home they'd built, the life they'd created. "Happy?" Victor asked, pulling both his girls close. "So happy," Camille confirmed. "I never imagined life could be this good." "Me neither," Victor admitted. "I was lost before you found me. Literally and figuratively." "We found each other," Camille corrected. "And we chose each other every day since." Imani yawned, tired from the excitement. "Can we have pancakes tomorrow?" "Absolutely," Victor promised. "Pancakes and family time. That's what Sundays are for." They went inside together, a real family now in every sense. Victor helped Imani get ready for bed while Camille changed out of her wedding dress. When they met back in the living room, both wearing comfortable clothes, they settled on the couch together. "I can't believe this is our life now," Camille said softly. "Believe it," Victor replied. "This is real. This is forever." Outside, the June evening was peaceful. Inside, warmth and love filled every corner. This house, this family, this life was everything any of them had ever wanted. Camille thought back to that rainy night months ago, when she'd found Victor drunk and vulnerable outside a bar. She remembered her first instinct to keep walking, to let him figure it out himself. She was so grateful she'd ignored that instinct. So grateful she'd chosen kindness over resentment, help over indifference. That one choice had changed everything. It had saved Victor, yes, but it had also saved her and Imani. It had given them a family, security, love beyond measure. It had proven that second chances were real, that people could change, that kindness always mattered. "Thank you," Victor whispered as if reading her thoughts. "For what?" "For saving me. For giving me another chance. For building this life with me." "Thank you for accepting the help," Camille replied. "For choosing to change. For loving us so completely." They sat in comfortable silence, Imani asleep between them, the future stretching out bright and full of promise. Whatever challenges came, they'd face them together. Whatever joys appeared, they'd celebrate as a family. This was what love looked like. Not perfect, not without struggles, but real and strong and built on a foundation of genuine care. This was what happened when kindness led the way, when hope stayed alive, when people chose love over fear. Months ago, Camille had been a struggling single mom with no hope of anything better. Victor had been a lonely, grief-stricken man drowning in work and guilt. Now they were a family. Parents, partners, best friends. It had started with one act of compassion on a rainy night. It had grown through trust, support, and genuine connection. And it had blossomed into something beautiful. A love story neither of them saw coming but both of them desperately needed. As they carried a sleeping Imani to her bed and settled into their own room, Camille and Victor held each other close. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, new challenges, new joys. But whatever came, they'd face it together. Because that's what family did. That's what love meant. And that's what happened when you gave someone a second chance and they chose to take it.